I'm Julian.
I'm Alan.
We are going to break down, react, and cry at our performance at Duo Fest. Sorry, my dog's in the background. Duo Fest was a two-person improv competition that Kismet hosted. Groups of two went on stage and did their thing, and we participated. We did not win.
We did not win our night, no. I don't know how many votes we got. They don't tell us that.
Listen. I think I brought 6 people, so we got at least 6 votes.
That's true.
You ready to dive in?
Sure.
Okay.
Custard cream and coffee.
I'm Julian.
I'm Alan.
And we're Boston Cream and Coffee.
We are.
Real quick, we need something from you. We need a place that you're glad you went to, but don't want to return to.
High school.
I heard Grace Roy. That was such a good suggestion.
It was, yeah. I didn't actually, listening to it back, I didn't hear the other suggestions. I remember hearing some when I was on stage, but and thinking some of them were bad. But high school is like, yeah.
I only heard the high school, and I was like, that's perfect. I don't care. That is the one I want.
Yeah, and that's a good way to go to approach it in this case, where you're looking for, okay, something you can build a story on. We've got 15 minutes we have to fill.
Yeah.
You can't do something that's so isolated that you can build one little story and then you get 10 minutes left.
Yeah.
High school you can build off of quite well. So.
Yeah, I immediately just went through all the angst that I think of from back in the day, being in high school. Like, oh great, this is gonna be a painful story.
Well, I don't think it ended up painful, but there was a lot of truth came out.
Exactly. Okay. High school. All right. What's going through your head?
I was just trying to do the best I could to, like, how can I physically show that I'm sitting here, I'm taking a test, I'm not enjoying it. It's it's hard on my brain here.
Yep.
Something is, it's not a good day for me right there at that moment taking that test. So I was basically trying to, okay, how do I can't say anything because we're doing the silent scene and to start. So how do I show that physically? So showing, the initial taking the tests and passing them on, and then trying to figure out and shaking my head and doing whatever physicality I could within a seated position to just show that, okay, this is something I'm doing and it's not going well.
Yeah. I definitely got that you're being very concentrating very specifically, and you did a good job of moving just enough for me to realize you're looking at textbooks or sheets of paper.
Yeah. Trying to flip on the pages, check the next question, and it's worse than the last.
Awesome.
All those memories of high school.
Yeah. All right. Why didn't we talk during that?
Well, it's the silent scene. That's how we start them with the Donut Rizz team, and we decided to do that in this format too.
Yes.
Even though we don't do the entirety of the donut circle form, we figured, okay, we'll start with that and see where it goes. Where we could have done the full form, but I think timing-wise and the fact that there's only 2 of us kind of prevented that a little bit.
That's true. Yeah, I always like with Donut Rizz, our indie team, that we start with the silent scene because it forces us to ground physicality.
Yeah.
And which I think that was an example of. I don't know how exciting it was to watch us not talking, but looking at that, it was like that's why we do it. Like that scene told a story.
I hate tests. Everyone I took, I was passing the entire time.
That's why we both failed. I was cheating off of you.
I told you not to. I tried to tell you, just don't look at my test. Or look at it and do whatever I'm.
If you thought I'd listen to you, I'd probably listen to the teacher. I wouldn't need to cheat off of you.
I should have told you to cheat off.
Huh?
No, that wouldn't have worked either. You got that wrong too. What are we gonna do here? Flunk out of high school?
Yeah.
We gotta get a job somewhere or do something, or we gotta go back to high school? It does not sound like fun.
I am not ready to grow up. They're pushing me too fast.
This is true. 18 years old and they expect me to be an adult? I don't think so. I'm not doing it.
You're only 18. I'm 22. I'm still here. that was ended up being the story.
Part of it,
Like
yeah,
the rest, like we did. What I remember, I could be wrong, but what I remember is from that point on, there was a story of like progressing through stages of life and still being in or attached to high school.
Yeah, and still having that being the overwhelming dread, so to
Yes.
speak, or anxiety in the life, that whole what it did.
Yeah.
I never knew.
I don't really like to. You don't brag about that kind of thing.
No, I don't think so. That means you had 8 years of high school.
Yeah. Yeah.
That sounds worse than being an adult in a way.
I get free food. There's people to talk to and hang out with. There's transportation. There's sports.
That's all positive.
There's a computer lab.
It's at 8 years.
Yeah.
People go through this in 4, like I just did, and it's like, no. Or I did 3.5. It's they go away. I don't want to go back even now. You just keep going back.
I haven't left. That's the secret. You can't regret things that aren't done yet. Thank you. Oh, I just got to figure out how to make money off of that idea. So otherwise I'm screwed.
I'm pretty sure you can.
What?
You've been doing it for 4 years beyond what anybody else does.
Yeah, I didn't have a business plan yet.
And 4 years later, you haven't made a single dime. Is that correct?
Yeah.
I didn't finish high school, but I think I know that's still a bad plan.
Dang it.
That was a good point to cut it, because we'd just come up with something more that was ridiculous beyond the 4 years of high school. Just saying, okay, I'm trying to monetize this, and clearly doing a very bad job of it.
Yes.
Because you haven't made anything, which I figured it must be the way, unless you had found some way, which you could have disagreed with. It was like, okay, this is where we are, or at this stage where we're supposed to be out of high school. I've flunked out. You're still there trying to stay in at 8 years in, and where do we go with this now? And that kind of, like you say, brings up. And again, because it's only the 2 of us, okay, this is the story we have. So how do we move it along or change it?
Yep.
And I think.
I think it's a jump cut. I think we're the same characters that.
Effectively, yeah.
That
I
jump,
think so.
and then we're gonna pop back in as the same people in the future.
Yeah.
And I think that's progressively kind of.
Yeah, I think in this case, normally I would think, well, that's kind of like not what I would have thought it would be when I was first thinking of doing this. But with the way we started and with the first scene, it kind of makes sense. Like, okay, we've seen him in high school taking the test and doing poorly at it. Now we've seen him just out of high school in one form or another. And
Not out of high school.
Or not out of
not out
high
of high school.
In one
Wanting
case,
to stay clinging to the prime of my life.
And then like okay, where do we take these characters? We have to see more of them. It can't just be this one joke. And plus, who else do we? The only thing, you know, even now, it's like coming up with, okay, we could take secondary high school characters that knew these people, but it's like, okay, we've got these 2 characters, we might as well explore them more.
Yeah,
so
that's
it's
exactly
let's
what I
just
was thinking.
Stick with the simple thing and not try to expand the world too much, since again, it's only the 2 of us.
And I think the stronger stories are about the people, not like what's happening around them. I was right. I should have stayed in high school. I'm not built for labor.
That's true. You're not doing a very good job at all, actually.
Rude.
Yes. I figured, you know, I was figuring coming in and you're doing something, I'm like, okay, I'm going to be the manager here. And I figure, you know, when I think of managers, I think of, somebody who's going to be rude to somebody who's actually doing the work. Whether they're right or not doesn't matter.
Right.
You know, I could have phrased that better if I wanted to be polite.
No.
But, you know, I wasn't trying to be polite. I was trying to be this character, and he's kind of an ass. So, at that point.
Yep.
So just give us something else to play with off of. Okay, this guy's finally out of high school after however many years, in the workforce, realizing it's not fun, and how can we play with that and make it like even worse?
Yep. And you're still younger than me, but now you're in charge of me.
Yeah. Same kind of thing where I figured this was my thought in here, as much as it's necessary to have a thought in there, was that this is only a few years out of where we last
100%.
were. And you know, you're at probably one of your first jobs, or maybe the first one.
The first job, probably on the first day.
Yeah, likely. And you know, I'm there coming in and like, okay, I can't just be a coworker because that's just a little too samey. So coming in and figuring, okay, I'm just like, you know, your next level supervisor, or lead, or whatever.
I just finished high school and they gave me this manager job, and I can tell you're just not doing that right. I mean, the hole is not like square. It's not.
I'm supposed to be digging a hole and trying to build a snowman.
Wow. Instructions, did you?
If I knew how to read the instructions, I would have been in high school for 8 years.
This is a good point. Probably should have thought through the hiring you a little longer, but it seemed like you were desperate to get a job.
I was not.
You needed a better business plan. And this one.
This is a horrible business plan.
But it will give you some money, and then you can think about the fact that you're doing this every day to make money, and maybe come up with something better.
That sounds like the style of depression my dad has.
That was funny, and it was very real.
And so mean.
And yes, it was. But I'm thinking like, yeah, I have that. I know that. But it's just like, okay, that gave us again something else to work with. Now we can play with this, and it's like the whole workplace
job life.
Yeah, the whole workplace job life, and we can kind of like play around with like kind of making an extreme version of that, which sometimes is funnier than the regular one, at least.
Because it's nice to laugh at our pain.
Yes, yeah. Bring it out there, show it on stage.
Yeah,
here.
as I was saying that, I was like, everyone's gonna like get punched in the gut. Like this is either a cry or a laugh, but either way, they're gonna react emotionally.
Yep.
I don't think I want this.
You made a good point. But you're here to dig the hole, and that's what I'm paying you for here. And I
But
think
the
whole
snowman.
The snowman isn't. It's entertainment for you. It's not what you're supposed to be doing.
I'm not supposed to entertain myself? What else is life for?
Work, eat, sleep, work, eat, sleep, work, eat, sleep. Work, eat, sleep.
There's another spot where I think I hit a little too much truth.
Yes, but it played so well off the previous one. Also, kudos to doubling down on the same phrase, like after the pause. That was a good making. In case you didn't hear, this is why we're depressed.
Yeah, because I'm looking at you, and you were there like you're like, oh, yeah, this is too truthful, and it's so terribly depressing. I'm thinking my character doesn't get that. He thinks you don't understand.
Yeah.
So I'll repeat it one more time for you. You know, my 3 words.
And of course I don't understand. I was the one that was in high school for 8 years. Like that makes complete sense.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Which part didn't you get?
I get it. Can I just like not want it?
Which part didn't you want? The work, the eat, or the sleep?
The cycle.
working. You can't have just part of it.
Why?
You can't just eat
Has
all the
anyone
time.
tried?
I think people have tried to sleep all the time, and that doesn't go too well.
Oh.
They like call it a coma or something.
Oh no. Well, that's not good.
No, and if you try to work all the time, well, that's not going to get you anywhere. You're not going to make time to take off. Time to eat or sleep.
Well, you don't have time off in the cycle.
You work, you're eating, you're sleeping. That's the eating and the sleeping are the time off.
Oh, that's even more depressing.
I didn't say it was hopeful.
Oh. One thing I will say, we seem to have a really good knack for knowing when like that part of the story ended.
Yeah.
Or like finding even if they weren't the strongest jokes, like finding a button for that spot.
Yeah.
And then like doing the next jump cut.
Yeah, because anything more would have been basically an extension of the same joke or
Yeah.
a repeating of the same joke.
And emotionally, you've kind of gone on an apex and started to come back down.
Yep.
So I think I think we did a good job of timing those, at least so far. I could be wrong, but that's my recollection.
Yeah, I definitely think like keeping them kind of short-ish like
Mm-hmm.
that worked out well because you get to see enough of the story without it, having any sense of drag.
Mm-hmm.
And either of those wouldn't have had a way where we could take it longer and give them like a dip and then another rise. It's like, okay, let's move on to
Yeah.
another. Let's show a little bit further on in the life of these two.
The numbskulls. I would like to re-enroll high school, please.
You can't enroll. High school is just for a certain time of your life, and then it's done.
Have you seen the world out there? It sucks.
And that's why I stay in this school office, because I don't want to.
We're still that's too real.
Yeah.
That's too.
Yes, definitely that. But again, you have to play with the what you have. So
Yep.
okay, let's take the depression, let's take the horrible world, and let's make fun of it.
That's right.
Out of that. I can just stay in here and kind of like reign over my petty little kingdom.
Is there a way I can help with that? It's so bad out there.
You can come in and be a mentor to the young people here.
That sounds like a brilliant idea.
It does, but it will require you to tell your life story so that and make it do it in a way that they want to cooperate. Because we don't want to be beyond the 4 years. We want 4 years in and done.
Those were definitely the best 8, 9, 10 years of my life.
I'm not sure we can get back in there. We've already got 8, 9, or 10 years into this. What the hell do we want to have?
Because it's better than the alternative.
I don't think you've seen high school lately. That's it.
Have you seen the traffic?
Every day I see the traffic, and I come in here and I say, I'd rather be back in that traffic.
Oh no! Where did I go? That also hurt.
Yeah.
I'm sensing a theme.
Yes, yes. Take all your pain, throw it on stage, and laugh at it.
That's
that is
right.
the theme.
Who needs therapy?
Wrong! I think it was when you walked back into high school.
See, again, I feel like that was really well, like, there's, maybe it's because we were doing more like talky stuff.
Yeah.
But I think we were finding the natural end of that version of the characters. Like, I'm really a fan of that cut.
Yeah, right there is the same as the other cuts where it's like, okay, we reached a peak. We don't want to explore this area anymore, even though technically you could. You can explore anything, of course. But, okay, we've reached a peak on this. Let's see what else we can do. That seemed to be the whole idea of each of these scenes being similar in length and similar in rhythm as far as we've reached this peak. We've hit a button. We're going to move to somewhere else and see. See what happens.
Yep. So far we've had like basically chronicle jumps in time.
Yeah.
I think it stops now.
I think so, because once you went to the old man coming back to high school, where do you go from there?
Yeah.
Becomes the question. So now we have to.
So I think technically this is the same topic but different characters at this point.
Could be. I don't remember the part exactly, so I'll have to say nod agreement or shake my head no. We'll see what happens.
No, just ain't no fun.
That's what they tell me.
I can tell you for sure. It's just not. It just keeps going and going. You think it's going to be better someday, and there it is. The same day, only you're older in it.
That is the truest thing you've said today.
Probably is. I haven't said that much today.
That was my eyes lighting up. You said something that I poke at and think about and make fun of regularly just in my own brain. Me going, that's what that was.
Okay.
That was like, as you were saying, it was like, oh no, this, I know where this is going to go. We're just going to be talking on stage as ourselves for the next 20 minutes.
Well, we didn't have 20 minutes, so.
No,
luckily.
but that's what my eyeballs were doing.
Yeah. Okay.
You hit one of my nerdy tangent spots.
Yeah, I had hit that because you had come in as the older character coming back to high school, and like that's since we're not on the sidelines, we're gonna pick up on something on that. It's like, yeah, growing older, it has its problems, and going forward with that, and trying to roll with that theme and see where we could take it. That got a big laugh because people in the audience know me.
We're given this idea that there's just like a mountaintop that we can reach, but even when you reach it, there's still just more. It doesn't stop.
You just reach towards the top and higher, but you're so friggin' tired you can't enjoy it. You're sitting down already. It's not any better now.
It's not. Why doesn't anyone talk about this? That's what I meant when I was like, this is going to turn into me and you literally just talking on stage.
Yes.
Like that's why I sat down. I was like, listen, this is going to be exhausting. Join me. This is a character of me at 13, but it's still me. Yeah.
Okay.
That's why I sat down. It was like just meet me on my level.
Okay. Yeah, I just figured, okay, you're doing change the physicality of it.
Well, yeah,
see what
we
I
had
can do
also
with
done a
that
lot of
and-
standing, so I wanted to do something different. But I
Yeah.
also realized we were going to be talking for a while, so I just changed how we were positioned.
Yeah, that could have been like a walk around thing. It could have been, but this kind of made sense for what we were going into.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, let's calm it down here and
Yep.
see. Let's dig in a little.
And then everyone kind of you can use that to kind of get even though we're just going to be talking now, it can be a little quieter, a little more earnest. You can like get people to lean forward a little bit in their seats because you're changing the physicality of what they're expecting.
True.
Here we go. Let's get real.
What would you do that information? There would be so much more depression around and so much more people just going, fuck it, I don't want to do anything. And the whole world falls apart.
Oh, that part's true. But like, if we can identify it, if we can identify the fact that the chase to a mountaintop isn't a chase to a mountaintop, then we can change what we're looking for. Yeah, like if we're taught from like yay big to until forever that we're supposed to be like pushing towards some mountaintop that we realize isn't actually there. See that? There wasn't laughter. There was people going, oh, they said something I like, but then they stopped because we kept talking.
Yes.
Where this whole portion is one long mind exploding truth bomb.
Yeah, just trying to see like, yes, this is what we normally do, and this is why we do it, but do we have to do it?
Doesn't make it okay.
No, it doesn't make it okay, and you at least realize that, okay, the race for the top of the mountain isn't really what you should be doing, or at least focusing on.
Yep.
Whether it's part of what you do or not, and then that's part of why I was a little slow at coming back here with something to say. I'm like, I was actually starting to get into my head a little bit about, okay, how do we make this funny? This isn't gonna be funny.
It's not funny. Here's the thing. It's not funny. It's painful. So this is the thing that in my brain when I went, oh my god, this is something that I firmly believe and think about on the regular basis.
Yeah.
So I didn't expect there to be punchlines, but every time I have the conversation with people, everyone in the conversation is extremely invested in the way we're thinking. And my bet was that we could do the same thing for the audience.
Yeah, I think it could have worked that way. It was just like I say, by this point, I had just gotten a little bit into my head about how do we do this and starting to overthink, and which is obviously bad for improv. If you're starting to think or overthink it, it's like, and then hopefully, again, I can't remember exactly how this ended, so we'll see whether I feel I got out of it or not in any way that worked.
Let's see. We can alter the goal, and that will fix the depression.
The concept was blowing my mind. Fix the depression, not go for the goal. Do
No,
something else.
No, I'm not saying don't go for the goal. I'm saying align the goals to fit with the idea of any new idea.
You're
It would
fucking
change.
with me, huh?
Yes, of course. This is a comedy show. Why on earth would we just sit here and talk philosophically about things that are breaking my brain right now?
I have no idea.
Fair. That's exactly how I remember that going.
Okay. I think possibly I'm not remembering it really well because I was in my head a little bit about overthinking what to say and
That's okay.
how to go with that. So it's just like throwing little things out there as best as I could to continue the conversation so we could bring it somewhere, even if that particular point of it wasn't the best thing ever. It was still okay. I've got to respond with something, give it a little thought, take a little time to do it, and throw out whatever truth I can find in it, or whatever I can find to bounce off of what you've said.
We also, in general, but also with like sitting down for the conversation, us taking longer pauses to respond, I think still went with the vibe without making it feel like an awkward pause.
No, I don't think any of them were awkward pauses.
Yeah.
I think it's just conversations, like how conversations can go if you're really invested in it, and how you're listening to the other person, thinking, not just thinking to respond and finding like I need my opinion out there, but like how do I respond to what is actually said, and listening and all that. So it seemed like that to be like a good conversational style. That sort of regular pace of people who know each other, as opposed to frantically trying to shove something in
Right,
there
exactly.
just to find a punchline, or just to get back at the person, or whatever else you're thinking of.
And even within that, there was moments when like we would tag silly stuff. But yeah, that was my entire recollection of that scene was my brain going, this is going to accidentally turn into a podcast where we're just talking about stuff. And I was right. And then we ended it.
Yeah. It went on just as long as it needed to. And
Yep.
then
Because I could have literally just comfortably sat up there with you and thought about this for the rest of our time if we didn't end it.
Yeah, but it needed to be like the other scenes where, okay, we've reached a point where we could talk about this more, we could dig into it more, but it's not really going to be entertaining or interesting for the audience. And it would be interesting for us perhaps, but not too much for exploring or pushing the whole scenes forward. So like, okay, this is another point where we've done the same thing. We've reached a point where we can stop this, move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
And continuing the same theme, but without digging in too deep into each one.
Yeah. Mondays are the worst.
Tuesdays. It's just like another freaking Monday, like moving in a rush.
And then there's Wednesday.
Wednesday's just there, and then it's like, what? It's just the middle of the week.
Yeah, we were almost like, oh, almost Friday, but then Thursday's in the way.
And then when you wake up Thursday, but you think it's Friday?
Oh my God, that's the worst.
And then Friday comes, and it's like, hey, it's Friday.
I know, I just spent the whole Saturday, Sunday worrying about going back on Monday.
That's not sound. That sounds like a bad repeating cycle.
I agree.
Why am I pretty comfortable?
I think if we knew the answer to that, we wouldn't be stuck in the cycle.
I think there's something we should think about.
Okay.
We should come up with a solution.
Yes, but we should say it out loud so they can hear.
I think they want to hear too.
Yeah. Would you guys like to hear? Yeah. All right. You should know that Boston cream is the best donut. Right?
Boston cream is the best donut. Come on, Boston cream is the best donut. Boston cream is the best donut. Boston cream is the best donut. What was it? Which one? Boston cream is the best donut. Thank you.
I wasn't sure how that was going when you first started it. I'm like, oh, you know, do you all want to hear the answer? And I'm like, oh, what's he going to come up with? What sort of kernel of truth is he going to pull out on these people?
Yeah.
And then you started about the donut. I'm like, okay.
I was trying to listen. Technically, this was a competition, and I
Yes.
knew we had the group game coming.
Yes.
In our format to end on with a strong button. I didn't know how, but my goal was to somehow get something related to our team name to be chanted by the audience for the group game, because then they might remember it when they're voting.
Yeah, I think that part of it worked. It just like it threw me a little because I was expecting something else, and then I'm like, and seeing it back here, it actually I think it worked a lot better than I was thinking when I was on stage, because again, I'd leaned into overthinking a little bit and trying to figure things out rather than just rolling with it. But I can see that the audience was there and they just rolled with it.
Yeah.
And it was fun and kind of like absurd considering all
100%.
the other things we had been talking about.
Yep.
They're like, oh yes, we want to hear the answer. Oh, and then you talk about donuts. It's like, okay, that's about as pretty absurd.
Right.
And it kind of worked.
And based on like how depressed we were at that point, because the nature of the conversation, I felt like that would also cut the tension a little bit.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
and when you're that knee deep in a conversation of existentialism, maybe just remembering that donuts are awesome can help.
Yeah. Whatever beauty you can find somewhere, right?
Exactly. Oh my God.
And I think we had done pretty much everything. I was wondering if there was more we could have dug into on that, but at that point, I think watching it back again, I see it a little differently. Like, oh yeah, that the rhythm of it works here, where we've hit, even though we had technically, we could have gone another minute and a half or so. We'd hit enough there, and we brought it to where it needs to be. We've got it kind of that last scene before the chanting was a little bit of like just a downer thing, and a little more, and then it's like, okay, let's turn this around.
Yeah.
And now
Like
you can't go
some
anywhere.
hope.
Yeah.
That was the
And we can't really go anywhere from that unless we get into like completely zany, which wouldn't really be.
It wouldn't fit with where we were.
Wouldn't fit with the theme
Yeah.
overall. Yeah.
And I think if I remember correctly, we started the last scene right at or right before they gave us the warning light.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. And that's when in the back of my mind you went, where am I going to get them to chant their team name?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that worked in this. I think in other forms, if we were to do this in something where it wasn't a competition,
Yeah.
we could find different ways to do a group game at the end, or even still
Yeah.
involving the audience, but kind
Yes,
of turning it around
that
in
was
a
my
different way.
yeah. I think making the group game audience involved, even if it's not a competition, because it's just the two of us,
Yeah.
was a challenge I wanted to see if we could do.
Yeah, and I think it worked pretty well here. I think that would completely depend on the crowd
Yes.
and the vibe of the thing, and whether they were into the thing or into
Yep.
Whatever it is we happen to do that another time.
And I think they were. I think
Yeah,
regardless
definitely.
of if they we're not laughing at different points. The fact that when we turned to them and went, "Hey, do you want us to tell you the secret of life?" Like that,
Yeah.
they're like, "Please do."
Please
Like,
do. You got to get us out of this.
yeah, yeah. I think that shows that they had invested in what we were doing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good time.
All right. So that was our whole set. What are your final thoughts, takeaways after watching it back?
As usual, watching it back, it's like, oh, it's better than I thought it was. And
It's as good as I thought it was. I thought we did really good.
yeah.
I was really proud of us, actually.
Well, I was always a lot of times after I do a set, I can when I first get off the stage or shortly after during that first day after when it's done, I can only see the mistakes.
Oh no!
So it's like, okay, then I can go back and watch it and I say, okay, the mistakes were actually pretty small here. And there.
Yes.
Or a couple of times were like, kind of low things in there where I couldn't come up with something, but they also weren't as visible as I thought they would have been, and kind of worked in a way where, like we were talking about the pausing and the pace of the whole thing, it kind of actually worked into that a little bit.
Yeah.
And going from there, and just I thought, and the other thing I thought of was kind of that whole having the theme through there and bringing the same characters through. I wasn't sure if that was really something that worked well for a set like this, but seeing it back and in real time, it does work.
I think
because,
so.
like as we talked earlier, it's like you're taking these same two characters. You're not building a larger world because you don't need to.
Right.
You could with a longer set. You could with more people. You could even just with the two of us. But with this thing, it kept it all together. And
I feel my rubric for if I did good or not is only if I felt like I was having fun when I was on stage. That's the only thing I care about. If I get off stage and I'm like, I connected with the people on stage with me or with the audience or whatever,
yeah.
Because in that moment, that's where for me the playing pretend is having a good time. So my rubric for if I did good or not is very low and easy to pass. In my opinion, we passed that with flying colors.